my thoughts on this remote are that it feels pretty good in my hand. I like the little red accent. It's controlling a lot of devices. I like that it's a rechargeable USB-C device and it's going to last a long time. So I really like a lot of the basics of this remote. What am I doing here? Well, I just made a recording about this remote on this little Star Trek looking device. This is called NotePin, and I could wear it 4 different ways. The recording I made was just transferred to their app, all without picking up my phone. The app houses all the recordings I've made over the last month, and with the press of this little generate button, I will run that recording through ChatGPT or Claude. Either of those 2 top shelf generative AI engines will bring me back a summary document of my recording, a mind map, and a full written transcript. This has been useful for me to improve this video script, and I've been using this to organize my days. Plus, I've been capturing all the crazy thoughts going on in my head. Look at this device. I think it looks pretty stylish. There are obvious uses in business settings too. So let me show you what NotePin is, how it works, and some of the ways that I've applied it to my life and why I think it's one of the first good AI experiences available. Let's give her. Hello automators, thanks for tuning in again. I'm Brian from Automate Your Life. Special thanks to the folks over at Plaud. Just a little backstory for you. These folks reached out. I honestly wasn't sure that we would ever make a video, but I did find some real value here. I'll often cancel things like this if the product doesn't match up with what I think you guys are looking for, but I did find some pretty big use cases. In just a minute, I'm going to show you the basics of NotePin and how it works, but I'm going to start with a little bit of how you can use this. For myself, I found some pretty good use as a creative person. It helped me organize my thoughts on a daily basis. Yet it hasn't forced me to give up the creative process. I'm now using this regularly to build videos that address all the points I want to talk to you guys about when I review a product or when I speak about a topic in smart homes. As an engineer in my past life, I remember sitting in tons of meetings, and this is a huge opportunity. There's always someone taking notes in the room and doling out action items and to-do lists. Well, this is that person. This is the note taker in the room, and you'll see when it kicks out the things that it does, there's some pretty big worth there. For students or educators, again, I remember sitting in lectures, taking notes as fast as I could to try and keep up with what's being said. But as a student, this can take the notes for you. And as the professor or the educator, this can actually create a summary of your lecture, and you can hand that out in a number of different ways. Let me explain what I mean by talking about what NotePin is. At its core, Plaud's NotePin is a wearable audio recorder. It connects through Bluetooth to your phone, and it sports a 270 milliamp hour battery. It has 64 gigabytes of onboard storage space for your audio recordings, but ultimately it transfers those recordings to the Plaud app on your phone or tablet so that it doesn't have to store them there forever. Once it puts recordings on your phone, you get a huge amount of AI features. You even get storage of your recordings in the app and on their Plaud web app. Somehow this little device can record up to 20 hours of voice recordings on a single charge, and it can sit idle for weeks and weeks at a time without you needing to charge it. Most of the time, if the app is open or you open it, the NotePin will transfer all the recordings you've made since the last connection. But once in a while, I've had to do the terrible task of tapping connect in the app. This is low energy Bluetooth, so it does go to sleep eventually. Now, when you order it through their website, it comes with this accessory kit. The accessory kit gives you 3 additional ways to wear the NotePin. It's actually the first wearable AI device that I felt like people could get away with wearing without people constantly asking about it or wearing down or weighing down your shirt. Now, case in point, I was never asked why I was from the future in the month I wore this out of my home. Nobody commented because I think people are generally unsure about approaching me, but also because it's well designed. Other than maybe the watch feeling like it could break here at some point, everything is really high quality and looks really nice. Your own personal style will dictate how you use this, but I have no complaints about the physical design, and I was really impressed with the quality of materials that I was getting from this relatively unknown maker. The NotePin has some small charging pins on the bottom of it, and you get a nice little charger that the device snaps into when you bring the two close together. There's a USB-C charge port on this, so this is something you can leave next to your keys or your desk and pick it up when you're ready to go. It's also nice, in the watch accessory or the lanyard accessory, if you have the NotePin in those, you're gonna be able to still throw it on the charger without taking it out of those. To start a recording, you simply hold the device and you'll feel a vibration after a few seconds. That means it has started a recording using its onboard microphone. There's a little red light there too. When you're done, you just hold it again and you will feel 2 vibrations when it's successfully stopped a recording. I like the physical feedback on this.
That's what she said.
And I like the fact that it's not always listening. This is something that I think a lot of us have struggled with smart speakers. They're always listening. Now, I've had a few issues stopping recordings, but it's just me having trouble finding the right spot with my finger.
That's what she said.
I can eventually get it, and there is an AI feature that helps me take care of the dead airspace I create while I'm trying to do that. Speaking of features like that, let's get into some of the really interesting options you get with NotePin. Woo! I threw it. Inside of the Plaud app, which is available on iOS, Android, or on the web, you'll see all of your recordings, and if you're currently taking a recording, you get to see that as well. The big plus button allows you to start a new recording, and you can also import audio, which I've used a few times and is very useful. Each recording can be tapped on to go into. You do things like play the audio, edit the file name, organize it into folders, and even throw them in the trash. Plus, you get some really helpful features like sharing the audio file to another app or even sending that out. The smart trimming feature takes all the pauses out of your recording. So for someone like me who often really thinks through the next thing I'm gonna say, I can make sure that my audio files are pretty neat and pretty consistent in the way they sound. So if you're sending this out, you don't want to send that big gap out. Here's the smart audio trimming option. Now, if you just want to trim like the edge off of the recording, that little bit of gap, that's the way you would do it. But you can also hit smart clip, okay? And it'll use AI and it gets rid of, you saw that. And now we have 14 seconds.
Hello, Automators. I'm making this recording, and now I'm going to leave a gap. This feature doesn't take out small audio gaps, so just keep that in mind, but it is very nice to remove big gaps like that.
And now I can hit save as, and it creates a whole new version, so even if you mess things up, you're not losing your original file. Now this is something you can send out, you can generate the summaries off of, and you can use going forward. Pretty useful. There are a few other basic features that help you with organization and even help you to merge things together. But the big button with every recording is the generate button. The generate button turns your recording into a properly summarized document and what's called a mind map. The way it summarizes the document is based on the template you choose, and you also get a full transcript of your recording. I had previously generated this summary document, and I just wanted to go through some of the really interesting things about it. This is a 10-minute recording. Okay, this is something I uploaded while I was doing an unboxing. It's also highly tailored towards the situation. So Because this was an unboxing and because I've created my own template to use here, it has put all of the different components into it that are relevant to the situation. One of the things specifically I always like having for you guys is the specifications showing up throughout the video. So I've been asking that to be a part of these summary documents, and there it is. When you are in a different situation, you're going to choose a different template. So this was, I just chose a meeting template. Okay, and I can insert the names here. It doesn't put those in just yet for me because I hadn't set everything up and I hadn't put in the location, but you can see there's spots at the top of this. I can edit the document, and because it was a meeting, there's things like action items included in it. So the template you choose drives all of this, and I just wanted you to see some of the different features you get just within the summary document. As I said earlier, you could be using Claude 3.5 or ChatGPT for Omni. And for those of you that don't know, Omni was the version of that AI model that could read things on screen, and it did shock a lot of people with what it could do. One of the shocking things to me was that you can dictate in 59 different languages, which when you compare to some other voice assistants or other dictation-like devices, that's a pretty big differentiator. Even the coming Apple Intelligence doesn't have additional languages that you can dictate in, so this is powerful for those of you international folks. What you get out as a summary document is really dependent on the template that you choose. There are more than 20 available, and there's even an option to create your own template. The template you choose will be based on the situation you were in when the recording was taken. So if you're in a meeting, on a call, or you're just making dictation notes like I do often, you pick that template to get out what I've found to be a pretty well-crafted summary document. When you do run into problems with your summary document or your mind map, you can ask Plaud to redo those things. So you're not stuck with that first generate button press. The other day I was doing an unboxing and I have that file actually on my phone. Okay, this is the audio recording for that. And what I've done is I've hit import audio, I found that file, and I've uploaded it right here. It comes in with the name of the file, and now it's as simple as hitting generate. Now I can select a template. If I have multiple speakers, I can turn that on. It'll put speaker labels in there. I can pick from the different AI models, and I can even pick my recording language. For me, I've created a template called unboxing notes. I'll talk about later how you can do that in the app. You can pick all these other ones. A speech note is a pretty easy one if you're just doing something that you want to capture. So now I've hit generate, I'm transcribing it, I'm creating a summary, and I'm creating a mind map. If I wanted to, of course, I can listen to everything that I was doing.
What we haven't.
I can skip ahead quick. And you can adjust things like the playback speed. You can add in some AI speech enhancement, makes it sound a little better. It's all finished, and it's used that template to generate exactly what I want out of it. It's given me what I experienced. It's told me what I like and I don't like. So here's the pros and cons. This is all set up inside of my template. If I want, I can read or listen to the transcript itself. And of course, I can look at the mind map, which just kind of gives you a visual of everything that's in the summary document. Now the summary for me is easy to share, so I can share this link out to someone, I can copy the transcript, just email it to myself, but I can also export the summary, for example, as a doc. And now I can have that, I can work with it. And there is this little Ask AI feature, which this is very useful as well for doing things like extracting metrics and conclusions. So not only do you have these little things that you can tap on, but Ask AI is very powerful for people in a work setting. Turn this into an email that only outlines the specifications. So I just voice typed that in, and now I'm going to hit this, and down at the bottom, it's developing the email for me. I could have put in things like the recipient's name within that command. So this is very powerful. Look, it's got all those specifications that I asked for, and now this is something I can just copy and share out if I'd like. If I don't like what they've done, I can discard it, but really powerful stuff for generating content in different formats. For me, this is incredibly useful off of one recording that I did. Now, I've also found really great worth in recording my thoughts before bedtime. I haven't had to have my phone around or even pick it up because of NotePin's ability to store those recordings. Also, although the recordings aren't super high quality, the microphone system has been really good at drowning out external noise. So it was good enough to do recordings in front of the TV or even when I was cooking and cleaning. I've been able to sit there late at night, think about what I wanted to accomplish the next day and record that here and then review it the following morning. For me, a lot of the worth that I found was in the organization features. You can organize your recordings into folders and then the recordings show a little title on them. I decided at one point I only needed one recording about this NotePin, so I used the merge feature. That brought everything into a single audio file, and then I used the generation feature and I had a single document. That's what I worked off of to build this video. I've heavily reviewed what this company is doing with data, and I'm finding good things. First, the recordings don't leave the device until it connects to the app. Once the recordings are transferred to the app, your data and your recordings, they're encrypted and transferred to an AWS server. When you hit that generate button, the processing that happens is being done between ChatGPT or Claude and the AWS server. The folks over at Plaud have zero access to your actual data or any of your recordings. Now, all of what I'm saying here are things you can review yourself within the privacy policy and the data safety document on the app page. There's a pretty ugly pattern out there with AI products. Companies throw together hardware, they make a fancy presentation or a fancy video, and they try to sell as many as they can with no real look ahead or future plan. When I asked the folks at Plaud about a couple of features, they pointed me towards their feature roadmap, and what I found was an active community of people who are providing feedback and asking for features. The company is very clear with the features they're tackling at the moment, and in the time that I've had the product, they released a feature called Ask AI. This is very different than what I experienced with the Rabbit R1, for example. Now, the other pattern that I think is pretty ugly is that companies release their products when they're still riddled with bugs. The software could have little issues, or the hardware doesn't stay connected or doesn't do its basic functions. This is often because companies are focused on the almighty dollar, and I'm sure these guys are going to make money, but they've been focused on reliability and the basic functions working the way they should. That has come through in spades in my testing. I've had no disconnections. I've had no failed recordings. The app has never told me it can't do something I asked it to do. I've never had synchronization failure between the web apps and the apps on my phone. It's just all worked the way it should be. And this is a nice change from some of the things I've experienced in testing smart products over the last few years. And finally, I like that this is platform agnostic. I'm not stuck using any specific phone or any specific other service. The biggest restriction is that I can only use 2 generative AI engines, but I'm not stuck in Apple's game or Google's game, and I appreciate that these guys have struck out on their own. But there is a subscription, and that's probably the biggest hang up for lots of people. I do have some good news for you on that front. As it stands today, when you buy NotePin, you get 300 minutes of audio recordings per month. You can use those to transcribe and generate all of those AI components with those minutes. That gives you about 10 minutes a day that you could transcribe with this system. I think for a lot of people, if you're ending up heavily using it, you might just buy an additional 120 minutes for $4. There are some nice extra features on the Pro plan. which I was able to use. It gives you 1,200 monthly transcription minutes, and the amount of templates that you can use increases. It also gives you access to create your own summary templates, which means you can create a document that is specifically fitting your situation. For me, I was able to create my own summary document for product recordings. And that has helped me to generate better summary documents for myself. There's also an Ask AI feature that becomes available with Pro. It lets you rewrite the format, extract things from the document, add to-dos, and you can even type in custom commands like, write this into an email for me. Everything else is there and available for you with just the starter plan that you get with the basic purchase of the device. Now, this one has been useful for me, but I know everyone's situation is different. I'm sure lots of you are interested, so check out the links below. You can find out more about Plaud. I'm sure they'll expand their lineup too, so check it all out below in the description. Otherwise, thanks for watching today, and of course, live smart.